both of them have failed their mission to mankind, and there is no excuse for them failing in their mission to mankind. I don't excuse either one of them, as I don't excuse the United States or Russia for failing their promise to mankind. I think they're both two thugs. I'm not equating Christianity and Islam with Russia and the United States. I am saying that these are world forces that made promises, and that these two thugs who met in an icebox recently to reflect their temperament and their character and when these forces meet, you assume that one of them on your side. You quite forget that when they meet, they are arguing about which one of them going to rule over you. All right, now, let me stick to my notes because I've got more notes than I've got time anyway. Now, my point is that we were robbed of our original religions so long ago, we have forgotten what those religions were. And once we go back to the original base of our religions, before Judaism, Christianity, or Islam, and when we go back to those religions were based on spirituality, and the God concept of those religions, of Judaism, Christianity, or Islam, came out of what I refer to as pre-God religions. I don't use that anymore because people don't understand what I mean about pre-God religions. They are so accustomed to the word God, they cannot understand that there was a time when man thought of a force in the universe presiding over the universe, and while he meant God, he did not use the word God, and man had more spirituality before he consistently used the word God. He used the God force and the God concept without using the word. He meant the same thing, and ultimately Western man interpreted that as meaning the same thing. But at this period, when everything was an all-encompassing, all-conclusive, man had not created, the Africans in the great river civilizations had created a religion that was so all-conclusive. It was not a weekend Jimmy Swaggart type of religion. It was a kind of religion that touched your total being. It wasn't a Sunday religion, a weekend religion. It was part of your totality, your morality, your dress, your diet, your marriage, your total human being. And it dictated everything. And this is why, at this period in human history, man did not have a word for jail, because no one had ever gone to one. No word for orphanage, because no one had ever thrown away any children. No word for old people's homes, because no one had ever discarded grandma and grandpa. Man was truly religious, too religious to shirk his responsibility in any way. I'm saying that was a truly great religious period of man. But once these foreign clowns began to organize and misinterpret what the great Nile Valley African thinkers had, and began to slap names on them, and began to make political and military use of them. That's why the whole thing went wrong. Now, when we look at Islam, where the brothers go wrong, that every time they move from one religion to another, they think the new religion has been with us forever. It is the newest of the world's religions and the last one to come into the mainstream of historical consideration. And when you separate it from Arabism, if you can, and it is difficult, I must admit, but when Islam moved over into North Africa, Northeast Africa was a fallen land. It had been raped for 1,000 years. The conquest wasn't much of a conquest. Starting with the Cambyses' invasion 550, and they didn't arrive until 639 A.D., and the Cambyses' invasion was 550 B.C. Over 1,000 years later, they got there, and they had one invader after another, Greeks, Romans. What resistance was left? All the great structure torn down. They were ready for anything when they arrived. They said they're bringing a great civilization. They arrived to feast on the fallen body of a once great culture. All right, now let's go back and pick them up at a period, the infancy of this thing. But let's look at these religions and look at these Nile Valley civilizations. Look at them as the basis of Western religions. And all the time this had happened while Europe was in its darkness. Now, when you take this like a classroom teacher, you've got to go into details. And when you go into these details, you've got to look at the making of the spirituality of Nile Valley people and to what extent this influenced the people of the Tigris and the Euphrates and the development ultimately of the people who became the people called Arabs. Remember, and this is hard for the new convert to understand, that inactivity as a place in human history, the Arabs are basically an AD people. There is no BC activity of consequence that can be attributed to them. Now, if you want to build a religion around them that has been there forever, and if you want to say, as some brothers have said, God created the first Muslim, his name was Adam, I don't know what you're talking about. And if you want to create an Islam that started before the Prophet Muhammad, uh,